In the end, he convinced a still young woman to dedicate her life insurance, which was 500,000 Deutschmarks, to him, to take a blow dryer and jump into a bathtub in order to let go of her old human body. I'm Anna Szkoda. I'm a German-Polish photographer. I live and work in Berlin. My work series deals with a criminal case that took place in West Germany in the late 70s, and it's a really abstruse story that seems to be closer to a fairy tale than to an incident that had happened in real life. A young man meets a young woman and begins to tell her fantastic stories. Their relationship mainly consists of long conversations about psychology and philosophy, and over time he becomes something like a mentor to her, and she becomes emotionally dependent on him. At a certain point, he reveals to come from the star Sirius, and that she too can go there if she only leaves her human shell. Night after night, he's on the phone making up a glamorous sci-fi world in which she starts to lose herself. In the end, he convinces a still young woman to dedicate her life insurance, which was 500,000 Deutschmarks, to him, to take a blow dryer and jump into a bathtub in order to let go of her old human body and enter a new serious body on the star and make a new living there. And luckily, this planned suicide murder fails, and she survives to tell the story to the police. Reading about the fantastical stories that the Sirius guy made up, I immediately felt a strong urge to photograph it, to show it. And this might be because the Sirius stories are quite visual in themselves, and also because there is such a strong contrast of this glamorous sci-fi world and the lived realities of Germany in the 70s. In court, photography usually has a very specific function. It is used as a forensic tool to determine an objective truth. I like the idea of using photography to remystify the case. My aim was not to reconstruct the history on detail, but to pick out certain motives that fascinated me. It was not easy to gain material because this story is almost 50 years ago. I got valuable archive material that included letters that the Sirius man was writing over years to his victim, and I worked with that. I was fascinated by the poetic power and the eerie literary quality and the well-documented bullshit that the Sirius man made up in the course of their relationship. Weird tales about meditating monks, about red rooms in Switzerland. The Sirius case is quite a curious case psychologically. The case brings up a lot of overarching questions regarding the relationship between power and narration, manipulation and psychological dependence, and photography and truth. I wanted to keep a certain naive innocence in the pictures. On the other hand, I wanted to bring together all the different atmospheres and moods that pervade the case, a certain kind of menacing fantasy and silly eeriness. A rare moment of the two characters. Their relationship mostly took place on the phone or in letters, and here they are sitting opposite each other, very close. I took the photo in a bar and used the incident light to create an enigmatic atmosphere. Detlef is only recognizable in his outline. It's a silent and intense moment, a strange pool, and at the same time her gaze is determined. This whole moment reflects for me the relationship between narration and power and manipulation. This is Heidrun, and she's one of my two characters. She was secretary of a large German newspaper. It's hard to imagine that a young, intelligent woman believed all the stories that the Sirius man told her. I went into a busy office building. I wanted to show her connection with the world. I decided to take the focus much more on a woman who, in her expression, seems to have stepped away. I also like the light. It puts a scar on her face, and this scar is like a symptom. It's a wound mark. This picture shows Monk Uliko, a character that the serious man made up. His face is hidden by his white robe being pushed up by a gush of wind. And this moment of invisibility underlines the fiction and the non-existent narration that is being woven around the young woman. The only planned thing here is the rope. I carry it with me for days, and on a trip I suddenly felt the atmosphere, so I spontaneously put the person closest to me into that rope and did the picture. And it was important to me to photograph the monk in a clarity that also reveals the ridiculousness of this figure. The reality that I try to show is very strange and distant, so my aim was not to further distance myself, but to immerse myself in it. My camera and I became something between witnesses and accomplices to what was happening.